miss and welcoming you all and everything. He's not able to be here today. He's totally fine, by the way. He was just not able to make it. But I did not feel right doing 2 claps and a flare because that is Sean's thing. So, for all of you who are freaking out right now, we are going to reinvent the wheel a little bit and do 2 claps and a hello Sean Thomas because he is actually watching on live stream right now. So is that okay? Yeah? Okay. Do we need to practice this or anything? Do you guys think we can do it? Yeah. I was way not good enough. Okay. So I'm going to say 2 claps and a hello Sean Thomas. If anybody does 2 claps and a flare, I'm going to be very disappointed in this. Alright. 2 claps and a hello Sean Thomas. Yay! Hopefully that makes him happy wherever he is. Alright. So my name is Anna Lake. I am the campus ministry coordinator here, for those of you who do not know. Hopefully you do know me. And yeah, welcome to Chapel at 1212. We have an amazing treat for you all. We have the gospel choir here today. And we have a guest speaker here today. So I'm super excited. Normally we have announcements right now. We actually don't have any today because we've done a fantastic job. Our creative arts team has done a great job about informing everybody through social media. So you all are all basically up to date. So I am going to introduce Dr. Clark, who's going to come up, and she is going to introduce our gospel choir. So give a hand to Dr. Clark.
Thank you, Anna. Hi, Sean. Wherever you are. I miss you. So welcome. Afternoon. How are you all doing? As they get on stage, I'm Lisa Clark. I'm program coordinator for the music program, and I'm also the faculty advisor to the newly formed gospel choir. We are so appreciative that you've allowed us to come and worship with you today. Just to tell you, the mission of the gospel choir is to provide through service and song to the campus community and the larger Owensboro community. They've only been rehearsing for about 5 weeks now, so they're doing awesome. So I want you guys to get up on your feet, sing along, clap along, move, do what the Spirit calls you to do, and without further ado, the Kentucky Wesleyan Gospel Choir.
Hey guys, my name is Truth McGee, and I invite you guys to worship and clap and sing and dance with us. I want to provide an experience in Jesus Christ for you guys. Are you guys with me? Let's make some noise for Jesus.
People forever
and praise. But this next song is called Friend of God. It's an amazing song because it's talking about how, although us people may change with each other, God is always consistent. That's a good thing. I get so emotional because we get different with each other, but God is always the same. He's the same today, yesterday, forevermore. So I invite you guys to sing this worship song with us, and I hope you guys like it.
When
thank you so much, Tracy and Gospel Choir. Can we give them another hand of applause? So grateful for that. Campus Ministries really tries to have diversity on this stage. I mean, you guys saw, like, we go from contemporary, traditional, to now gospel choir, and I was just very, very blessed by that, so thank you so much. Our guest speaker today is Connor Reed. He is one of our graduate interns that I've had the blessing to get to know over the past few weeks, so I'm just going to pray for him as he brings the word today. So bow your heads with me. Dear Lord, thank you for the blessing and the freedom to worship you today. So many other individuals and so many other places in the world do not have this freedom like we do. So I just want to pray over Connor today as he brings the word and that he just says what needs to be said and believes out everything else, that you would just speak through him today, Lord. And I just pray that you open our hearts and open our ears today to accept what needs to be told to us. So in your amazing name, amen. Connor Reed, everybody.
Amen. Amen. Well, good afternoon. As Anna said, my name is Connor Reed, and I'm going to give you a little insight about myself. So I am the pastor of youth and college students at National United Baptist Church in Owensboro, and I'm actually partnered with the campus ministries through the KBC, the Kentucky Baptist Convention. So I'm excited to be here with you all this evening, or this afternoon, I apologize. So today's title of our message is Let Go and Let God. And I think I can say this with confidence that there are some things in my life that I'm going to take this off, that I have, if that's okay. Leave it on? Okay, I'll leave it on. There are some things in my life that I've been able to go through and been able to, on the other side, say, hey, that's something that I've been able to overcome, but not on my own power. And so I can stand in front of you this afternoon with almost 100% confidence saying that I have lived this let go and let God. And what I'm getting at, and I don't want to get too much into this because next Wednesday night I'm on the schedule for stories. I believe that's right, Vincent, Zach. But so I don't want to get too into my story, but there might be some people in this room today that might be able to say, hey, I remember you when you were here at Kentucky Wesleyan. So I am a former student. I did not graduate. I'm not alumni from Kentucky Wesleyan College, but I came to Kentucky Wesleyan as a student to play football in 2015 after I graduated high school. I was here until 2017. I'm just going to be honest. My life here at Kentucky Wesleyan was awesome, but it was awesome for the wrong reasons. While I was at Kentucky Wesleyan, I got so wrapped up in things of the world and I lost sight of who I was. And so you have to come back next Wednesday night to hear more about who I was and what God's going to do. But while I was here, it was very clear and it was revealed to me one night in my dorm room in Deacon Hall that God just made it very clear. He said, Connor, you're not who I called you to be. You've been doing this on your own, and this is not what I've called you to do. And so it took an act of God to remove me from Kentucky Wesleyan College my sophomore year for him to be able to fully reveal what it was that I was supposed to do. So as I've been preparing, leading up to today, I've been praying for you all. I want you to know that I've been where you're at. I haven't sat in these seats because we're in a new building, and I really didn't have the spiritual discipline to come to chapel when I was at Kentucky Wesleyan. And I regret that deeply. But today, as I said, our title is Let Go and Let God. So God took me to the book of Jonah. Now I don't want to tell the story of Jonah in a picture book. I don't want to pull up a chair and say, all right, hey, here's this picture and tell you all about that. But I do want to highlight. So on your chapel handout, I've highlighted a few key verses in the book of Jonah. The first one being Jonah 1 through 3. Now the word of God came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against it, for their evil has come up before me. But Jonah rose to flee the presence of the Lord. So, I don't know you all. You all barely know me, but you might be one of these people that say, I feel like God's calling me to do something, but I don't know how to go about it. Or, if you're a Christian, you're saying, hey, I really feel like I'm called to this area in ministry, but I don't know how to go about it. Or I feel like I'm called to do this, or whatever it is, but you don't know how to go about it. God makes that very clear to us. So that call that you're feeling, it's not a mistake. God is calling you to this thing for a reason. Just as God called Jonah to go to Nineveh, God is calling you to something. For those that have never professed faith, that do not have a relationship with Christ, Maybe it's God is pulling your heartstrings so you will turn to Him, but you don't know how to go about that because you're enjoying the life that you're living. And just as Jonah was called by God to go to Nineveh, but he didn't because he fled from the presence of the Lord. We do not need to be like Jonah and flee from God. The second one, verses Jonah chapter 2, verses 1 through 2. Like I said, I'm just going to highlight these for our time purposes, but I encourage you to, when you leave today and get back to your dorm or house, wherever you go, I encourage you to go and read the whole book of Jonah. It's 4 chapters, very short, and the message in there is wonderful. But Jonah chapter 2, verses 1 through 2. Then Jonah prayed to the Lord his God from the belly of the fish, saying, I called out to the Lord out of my distress. So for those that don't know, when Jonah fled the presence of the Lord said no, and he had Jonah swallowed up by a fish. So in the belly of this fish, Jonah called out to the Lord in his distress. Now keep in mind, this is after Jonah had been, that he had fled from God. And God said, no, Jonah, this is what I have for you to do. But you're not going to do it. So, there's that time period where, this might be you, where you say, hey, I really think that God is calling me to do this or leading me to do this, but I don't know how to go about it. And then things start to become a little difficult. Maybe things at home start to not be that great. Maybe your grades start slipping. And in that moment, God calls us to call out and to rely on Him. In the third verse of Jonah chapter 3, verses 1 through 2, then the word of the Lord came to Jonah the second time, saying, arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against it to the message that I tell you. So Jonah ended up going to Nineveh, but it took God 2 times to call out to him. So I want you to know, before we dive into the rest of the chapel handout, I want you to know that each and every one of us are called to something. You can say, hey, I feel called to this, or I don't feel called to this, or, as we've already established, but each and every one of us are called to something. It may not be ministry, but I'm a firm believer that the teachers are called to be teachers, pastors are called to be pastors. I think a bus driver has a calling to be a bus driver because it takes a special kind of person to do each and everything. So each and every one of us are called to something, okay? And if you're one of these people that say, I'm really struggling right now, I don't know what to do, I'd hate to give up what I'm doing, I want you to know that finding out that's something you feel called to, it is, and it can be, and it will be very difficult and challenging. And sometimes, in that moment when we're trying to decide what it is God would have us and wants you to do, our lives can be so overwhelming that it feels as if there is no hope. Jonah, when God called Jonah and said, go to Nineveh, do this, Jonah said no. Jonah ended up in the belly of a fish. Now, I've never been in the belly of a fish, but I could imagine how awful that was. And so in Jonah's distress, he called out to God. He said, God, help me. And God said, Jonah, this is what you would have. This is what you need to do. So our lives can become so overwhelming that it feels as if there is no hope. In this moment, in these moments of distress, we need to let go and let God. So, what does it mean to let go? To let go means we, ourselves, need to do a few things. To let go, we need to let go of the mindset that we are in control. For us to say, God, I'm in control of what I am to do. That's wrong. Time and time again, I think about my life, and in those moments where I was in Deacon Hall, when I was here, like I said, next Wednesday night we'll really dive into my story, but when I was here, there were times that I felt like I had no hope. But like I said, it took an act of God to remove me from here to make that very clear. I was not in control. You are not in control of the circumstances that you have been through, that you are in, or you will go through. God is in control. We need to understand that without God, we are nothing. You might be sitting here and saying, hey man, this sounds great, but I like what I got going on. So I'm hearing that you're talking about God and how I need to turn to Him. I need to let go of what I've got going on and turn to Him. I think I'm good. Because in reality, when we say, God, I don't need you, we find out real quick that He is the one we need. We need to let go of the mindset that we are entitled to happiness. God, I'm hearing you. God, I want to do this. But God, I don't know that I'll have enough money to buy that new pair of shoes, or I'll have to do this, or there are so many things that are pulling or for our attention that make us happy today. But in reality, the shoes that you wear, the jeans, the shirts, the clothes, the house, the car, the video games, whatever it is, that your education, whatever it is that you have that you enjoy, that makes you happy, are nothing compared to the happiness that God can and will give you. But when we say, okay, God, I hear you, I want to follow you, I want to do this, there's this thing that starts to set in called worry. And last week I talked about doubt, fear, and temptation. So I won't go back to last week, but when things that when we don't have control over set in, if it's a bill that comes across your table and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to pay this, you start to worry. But to let go means we need to let go of the worry in our lives. So you say, Connor, what happens after I let go of all these things? Well, as our chapel message today is let go and let God. When we let go and we say, okay, God, I'm here, I'm hearing you, I'm ready to follow you. What is it you would have me to do? We have to let God. As I said, it took an act of God to remove me from the things that I was involved in. When I let go and I let God, God took me to a ministry on the other side of Kentucky where I met who is my wife now. And I will dive more into that. But there have been so many things that 2016, sitting in Deacon Hall on this campus, that I would have never said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Truthfully, and I tell Sean and Anna and Zach this, I never planned to step back on this campus. When I left, I had no intention of being back here in any capacity. Graduate intern, never, whatever you want to say, hey, would you thought of this? No, I had no intention. And there's some events that led up to my leaving that, probably I shouldn't have been able to come back. But anyways, I had no intention, but God said, you let go and you let me, and I'm going to take you. So to let God means that we let God have full control of our lives so God can fully show His power to us. To let God means we let God comfort us in our times of need. Maybe you're saying, maybe you're one of those people that say, I'm hearing you, but I'm really stressed right now, and I just need to go back to my dorm room so I can do this, or I need to do this, or whatever it is. In your times of need, you need to let God comfort you. Not this substance, not this activity, not this place. You need to turn to God and let Him comfort you. To let God means we let God become the complete focus of our life. That no matter who you are, what you're doing, that you say, God, on this day, at this time, I'm giving you my full, undivided attention. My life is yours. Whatever you would have me to do from this point forward, I'm okay with. Because I promise, and we know from God's Word, that God never said following me will be easy. In fact, God promised it would be very difficult. He said that you will go through trials, you will go through tribulations, but that is what makes me who I am. Jesus Christ was sent to die for us. And that is God fulfilling His promise. C.S. Lewis said, the more we let God take us over, the more truly ourselves we become. Because He made us. You see, as a 18, 19-year-old kid, I'm 23 now, but in my younger days, I had this idea of this is what I was supposed to be. This is who I was supposed to be. This is what I was supposed to be doing. And I was wrong. I was at Kentucky Wesleyan College pursuing an exercise science degree. I was playing football. I was in a fraternity. I was talking to my fraternity brothers, my friends, saying, I'm going to play professional football. That's what I want to do. But little did I know that in 2017, in that fall semester, God would say, Connor, enough's enough. You've been doing it on your own. You need to let go of what you're doing and let me take over. And then God called me into ministry, and as I said, He pulled me away, took me to a ministry where I met my wife. I'm still in school. And so my life today is nothing that I would have ever said, I'm going to do that, or I want to do that. So the bottom line of this, as I'm going to wrap up and close, is letting go and letting God does not mean that's it. You don't say, God, this is my life, here it is, take it, do as you please, I'm done. No. When we let go of the things in our lives, we must continue to pursue God's direction by being in the Word daily, and by being in continual fellowship with God and other believers. If you're one of those people that say, I really am struggling right now, as I tell people, discerning God's will for your life is the most challenging thing you will ever do. But as you start living in God's will, things begin to become very clear, and things that you never, like I've been talking about, things you never would think about start falling into place. And all of a sudden, you're happier, you're more enjoyable to be around, and the will of God is being fulfilled in your life. The last scripture I'm going to leave you with, and all of my scriptures are out of the English Standard Version, but it's Romans 8:28. And we know for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose. I know when you're going through something and someone walks up to you and says, "Hey, what's going on?" And you say, "Well, I feel like this is something that is keep happening." And when somebody tells you, there comes that breaking point. I say, when somebody looks at you and says, "Hey, just rely on God," and you're at that point where it's almost like, I don't want to do this. It's too difficult because you're telling me to trust in God, to let Him have control, but in reality, I'm not seeing what I'm going through. I'm not seeing the fruit of the labor. I'm not seeing the outcome of these hardships. And the real honest truth of that is that for those who love God, all things work together for good. Might not be your good, but God has a purpose in everything that you will ever go through, everything you will ever face. And so I want to encourage you today that if you're one of those people that you're saying, this is what I feel like I need to be doing, but I can't because of this, I encourage you to fully let go and let God. I'm going to pray over you right now, and then we'll be dismissed. So remember when you leave to go out the opposite where you came in, and there's fruit snacks and stuff in the back for you. Thank you for being here. And so if you're by your heads, we'll be dismissed in prayer. Father God, we come to you this afternoon, God. Forgive me. God, I thank you for this day, God. I thank you for this opportunity to be gathered in chapel. God, I just want to lift up each and every student, faculty member in this auditorium. God, I remember being broken, God, not knowing which way was up, not knowing what to do, God, and you just said, Connor, I need you to fully rely and trust in me. So God, if there's anybody in this room that is dealing with your call and your will, God, I just ask that you be with them, God. You will send people their direction to come alongside them, God. And God, in the end, that they don't grow weary and they don't grow discouraged, God, that your will will be able to be fulfilled in their life. And God, that if there's anybody here that does not know you and does not know about the gospel and does not know about Jesus Christ, God, I just ask that their eyes and hearts will be open and they will be saved. God, we thank you for how you love us. God, we thank you for what Jesus did on the cross for us. So God, I just ask these requests and these blessings over us as we leave today, God. We thank you and we love you. We ask these things in your name.